Hello, and welcome to this learning session on the Moore Industries Safety Triple Alarm Configuration Software, the model STA. And in this learning session, we are focusing on the high-level STA, high-level meaning it takes a current and a voltage input as opposed to the low-level or temperature programmable units which take temperature inputs, typically. Okay, so we'll talk about everything we see here in this overview of the STA configuration software screen. Starting with the top, we have the Windows standard title bar here, and you see it's STA configuration software. We have the word Untitled over here, and we'll show you how to change that shortly. Down below here, we have the standard Windows menu bar, file, view, transfer, communication, etc. We'll be covering all of those. And down here, we have a toolbar, and the toolbar mimics a lot of the functions you also have up here in the menu bar. So let's drop down here into this left-hand column first and see what's going on. First of all, we have a thing called sync status. And you notice in the box here it says in sync, and we have a green light indicating everything is good there. The sync status is there for if you go into the instrument and you start to make changes and you go to several pages and you come back and then you go to run the unit, you're going to notice it says now it's no longer in sync, and it's just letting you know that you did change something and you have yet to download it to the instrument. I'll just go down here quickly and change my filter from 60 to 50 hertz. As soon as I do that, I get an out of sync indication saying now the software is no longer in sync with the instrument. Even if I go back, it doesn't know, oh, there it goes, in sync, I'm sorry, back in sync again, so it knows I backed that change out. But if you change something and it's not backed out, you will see an out of sync in a yellow indication there. Right now, program status is idle. I am not monitoring the instrument, I'm just looking at the software. We'll show you, it'll change later on when I start monitoring the STA, and that'll change. Here we have the STA status, fault alarm. You notice I have a red fault alarm, and I have an error message down here. Now, the reason for that fault alarm is because, like a lot of you, what I did, I installed the STA into my work area here, and I powered it up prior to providing an input. My input should be between 4 and 20, as you see over here. We'll get all these later. And so, being powered up and there was no input there, that is a fault condition. And so, rather than having to go out into the field, if you were to reset that fault alarm, you can do it from here, because now I do have an input on the unit, so I can, without having to go out to the instrument, I can tell it, let's reset that fault. As long as my communication is good, I get the green light and I'm okay. Okay, follow down here. These numbers are not dynamic right now because I am not monitoring, but when I was last monitoring the input, the primary variable, the PV, was 8 milliamps or thereabouts. The analog output was also 8 milliamps. Down here, RJC, that does not apply to the high-level unit. That is a reference junction compensation, which applies only to the temperature input units. So this is not a temperature input unit. This is voltage and current input. Down here, some good important information, the STA device information. This is the STA I have attached to the software. Gives me the full model number. The device ID is the serial number of the instrument. Hardware revision, in this case it's 0, it's an older unit. And the firmware revision 1.2.02. Now, and some of this is important, so when you call for support, we might ask you, first we're going to ask you the serial number, and we might ask you the hardware or the firmware revision just to see, so we have a better idea what you have, because it might have a bearing on a problem if you're having a problem. This progress area, that will show a progress bar whenever the software is communicating with the STA. And of course down here I get a good communication light, which is very, very important. You always want good. If you do not have good communication, all this information is suspect. So you have to have good communication there. And we'll quickly look at these tabs across here. Input scaling, display, alarms, analog output, and then a summary screen. And these are all apparent here. However, if you did have an STA that did not have an analog output option, you would not see this tab here. So don't be concerned if you don't see it on yours. That just means you don't have the analog option, which is shown down here where it says the -AO. That's the analog output option. Okay, so let's just quickly show you this here. We call it a VCR button, bright facing arrow here, and you notice I get a little prompt when I dwell the cursor over there. It says start monitoring. So we can start monitoring my instrument, and down here you see the progress bar starts, and the status is uploading. Now status is monitoring. And you notice it quickly jumps over to the summary screen here while it is monitoring. And of course, you see now you'll see active data in the primary variable and the analog output here. And the progress bar stays constant. You'll see the communication light blinking. And this just shows you how this STA is configured. It just puts that up there for informational purposes. It is not dynamic at this point. Okay, so let's stop it so we can do a few other things. First of all, I said we can change this. If I have this configuration and I want to save it to a file, I can say save as, and down here I'll put the name. We'll call it test01, and I will save that. Now you notice it puts that name of the file up here in the title bar. Okay, and we'll look at all these here on the menu bar. See view. Allows us to view the toolbar and the status bar. That gives me both of these. I can shut them off if desired, but I leave them both up. Transfer, I can do an upload or download. That's these arrows here. An upload, the up-facing arrow, will upload the configuration from the instrument to the configuration software. And the download downloads this current configuration that I have on the screen. It downloads it into the instrument. Okay. When run communications, COM 1, 2, 3. Right now I am using COM 3 on my computer, and I also have to tell the software that it should be listening to COM 3. So they have to agree with one another that they're both set COM 3. So if you're using COM 1 in your computer, you'll have to set COM 1 here as well. Monitoring, this is the same as the VCR buttons. You can say monitor or stop, the red stop button there. And of course help, and one thing that's important is the About tab here, and it shows this version. I'm using version 2.0.08 configuration software, and if you call for support, we might ask you what version of the software you're using, because it might be helpful in troubleshooting your problem. We'll close that down for now. Okay, and let me see. Oh yeah, one other thing. If you do make a change, let's say I change that to 50 hertz, and I try to move along without it, it's going to give me, not only do you have the out of sync warning up here, but now you have this warning here that just says this displayed configuration does not match. And if I choose to proceed, what it's going to do, it's going to back out all my changes, and then we'll see it here. It'll back out all my changes and then operate the machine just as if I didn't change anything since the last time I was here. And there it goes. It's running now. And if I stop it, when we come back here, you notice it went back to 60 hertz because my change was from 60 to 50 hertz. So it backs out all your changes and then continues on. So if you want to keep those changes, be sure to do the download first. So if I go to 50 hertz and I say yes, I want to configure my instrument that way, we'll get the progress bar. It's loading the configuration down to the instrument now. And as soon as it stops, there you go, I'm back in sync at 50 hertz, and now I can run. Although I don't recommend 50 hertz for the United States operation, I recommend 60 hertz. So I'll put it back there and download that. And I'll thank you for listening to this overview of the STA configuration. Look at also if you want to know how to do input, scaling, display, alarms, all those. There'll all be separate learning sessions available to you. Thank you for listening.